love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Carden, and I am so excited to have my friend Steve Rosenberg on here today because Steve and I have known each other for a while. I love what he's doing. He is so brilliant. You're going to enjoy this conversation. So Steve, welcome to my show.
Thanks, Ann. It's great to see you, and it's always great to be with you.
Thank you. I had Steve on my summit, several months ago, and I enjoyed the conversation with him so much. I knew I had to have him on my podcast. He is brilliant. He brings so much expertise out into the marketplace. And Steve is a best-selling author. He's an innovative speaker. He's a mentor. He does many things. So Steve, why don't you just give everyone a little bit of an idea of your background and exactly what you do?
Thanks, Ann. So I have a very unique background, I guess. I have a degree actually in sports administration at a time when there were very few people getting a degree in that. And I was very focused on being in the sports world and the entertainment world. And I made a small career in that and worked for some professional teams. I had my own agency, but this was at a time before sports exploded, right? Back in I don't want to date myself, but back then it was very hard to project that sports would explode the way that it does today with women's sports and sports wagering and e-gaming and just the proliferation of sports being literally everywhere we go, right? I call sports the opiate of the masses. Had I a crystal ball back in those days, I'd probably still be in sports, but my crystal ball was not available to me back then. So I sort of shifted and went into the not-for-profit space, but venue related. So I was consulting in the museum world, performing arts centers, zoos, aquariums, opening facilities all across the country, helping those institutions figure out how to become self-sustaining. So really helping them focus on earned revenue, ticket sales, corporate sponsorship, parking, merchandising, food service, ways that were not contributed income. So not going to foundations or philanthropists to ask for donations, but how can they make it on their own? And really developed an expertise in that. The analogies between sports and not-for-profit venues really are not that far off. Sports is a little sexier. Not-for-profit venues like science museums and art museums, people go to, but they don't necessarily think of it maybe as entertainment. It's more edutainment. And I just developed a real niche, but my calling card always has been as some people are serial entrepreneurs. I'm a serial networker. And to me, the greatest joy really in life is to meet people, find out their story, and figure out how we can do things together. But I view networking, and this is very important, and I wrote about this in my book. When people in today's world hear the word networking, they think transactional, right? Like, here's my business card, give me yours. How can we do business together? I approach networking as a completely different perspective. I take the transaction out of it. Whenever I meet somebody, my first approach is, how can I help you? Not how can you help me? How can I help you? And then somewhere down the line, maybe I'll make a connection. Maybe I'll do something with them, for them. And down the line, who knows? Maybe I have some credits with people. And if I need something, maybe they'll do the same for me. But I don't go in with that quid pro quo. It's how can I help people? And I don't really use the word networking. I just say I'm going out to meet people. I love to go to events, meet people online via LinkedIn. So many great tools out there. But that's how I've been able to maintain a positive career, and career sort of shift is by continuing to meet and get to know people.
I love it. And I want you to know he definitely lives
what he talks about. I have found that out firsthand, and I've been just so impressed by the things that he does in his business that we could all take lessons from. So Steve, you definitely are walking your talk for sure. Yes. So your book is called Make Bold Things Happen. Let's talk about that for a minute. I've been talking lately about how to make your next four, bold moves, your next four big moves in your business. And so I love the title of that. Explain what that means exactly.
So I was thinking, what could I call this? And I just stumbled upon it one day. And we all make bold things happen in our lives every day. We don't necessarily realize that we're making bold things happen, because as we sit in our regular daily lives, we see people making real bold things happen, whether it's the Elon Musks or the Bill Gates or the Warren Buffetts or, the Sheryl Sandbergs, any of these people who are really running major companies or making discoveries in the medical field or life sciences, the people that you see on the news or read about in the paper, to anybody that still reads the paper like me. But to me, making something bold happen is getting a degree, finishing high school, finding a new job, excelling in your job, getting a promotion, meeting new friends, getting engaged, getting married, whatever something that you could do is a bold thing, right? It could be stepping outside your comfort zone. It could be learning to drive a stick shift, learning to drive a motorcycle, climbing Mount Everest, going for a 3-mile walk when the furthest you've ever walked was a mile, running a marathon. There's many ways to make bold things happen. And I'm trying to sort of lower the barrier for people to understand that we can all make bold things happen by getting off the couch. Life is a participatory activity. And if we sit on the couch all day and watch TV, that's not making bold things happen. Watching 47 hours of binge TV doesn't impress me. Right. I'm glad you enjoyed the TV, but let's get out there. Let's meet people. Let's do things. I write about in the book, someone said to me, is success the opposite of failure, or vice versa? And I say, no, the opposite of failure is success is not trying, right? Like we've got to, right. If you don't try, how do you know success? The people that learn how to ride their bikes typically fell off their bike a few times. If you talk to Elon Musk and some of the great entrepreneurs of our day, I guarantee they have 37 failed businesses that they went through before they got to that point. Mm-hmm. And failure is part of the success journey. And if you are afraid to fail, then you're afraid to try. And we've all failed.
Right. It's also part of the life journey as well. How many things have we done in our lives that haven't worked out the way we planned or thought they should work out?
Well, you're funny. You see right behind me, I didn't realize there behind me is a set of golf clubs. So I never played golf my whole life. And my oldest son, about a year ago, said to me, Dad, why don't you play golf so we have something to do together? And when your adult children want to do something with you, you say yes, no matter what it is.
Right.
And I'm reasonably athletic. I figured I'd be able to, be an okay golfer. I'm horrid. I stink. And everybody says they stink. I stink. And no matter what I do, I can't seem to, just get the ball up in the air most of the time. But I keep trying. I keep playing. And I fail every time miserably. I go out on the course, but I play fast. I try to look good. I try to be fun because I want it to be out there with my friends or with business colleagues is more important than just having the golf club sit in the corner and collect dust.
So true. So true. And how many people, one of the things you talked about, Steve, that I really want to hit on and talk about is you said, get out of your box, get out of your comfort. And so many people, why do you think, Steve, we see so many people who just settle for where they are? Like, well, this is the way it is. I see this in business all the time. Well, I just want to make some income and I'm good with that. And why do you think people stay in that mindset?
Look, I'm not a psychologist, but I believe it's what you preach all the time in your business. I think people are afraid to fail. People are afraid to ask for the sale. They don't want to hear no. They don't want to have rejection. And they get into their comfort zone and that's all they want to do. They're fine. They make a living. They send their kids to college. They get to go on a vacation for a week a year. And by the way, that's great. Wonderful. That they seem to be happy. But if you don't step out of your comfort zone and try something new, you don't know what else can be achieved. If you stay on the same side of the street every day, you don't know what the facades on the other side of the street look like. Cross the street, take a new road home, meet new people. I get back to networking. When I would tell people that work for me, there's an event, I want you all to go. You're not going to know anybody there. Go and meet new people. You would think that I'm telling them to go, skinny dipping in the Antarctica when it's 10 degrees. I think they would rather do that than go meet new people. And these are just people that have the same sort of stories that they do. And I can't think of anything that's more exciting or interesting than going to meet new people. So I just think there's I don't even want to call it laziness. There's a complacency that people get that they're fine and they don't want to try anything else.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. How do you handle that when you are working with clients or you're trying to get them to move? I always love to pick people's brains while they're on my show and find out what they do. So yeah, what do you do when people are just sort of sitting there and not doing anything?
That's a great question. I ask a lot of questions. I try to really get to know people and find out what they're about, what motivates them, because something motivates everybody. Some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by fame or whatever it is. Everybody has some motivation, and try to really understand where people are coming from. Most people don't really believe this, but I'm really an introvert, truly an introvert. And before I go to speak in public, before I go to events, I got to really psych myself up. I'm okay on these sorts of programs, but in big groups, it takes me a while. And I think everybody has some hidden fear. And again, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm really like the simple son. I'm the inquisitive person who just wants to keep asking why. And once you get people talking, you're willing to ask a lot of questions, you'll get to where people, I think, are coming from. And then I try to get them to make decisions that they really want to make, not that I want them to make, even though it's the decision that I want them to make. And again, talk about failure doesn't always work, because sometimes I know I'm right from experience and they're not. But at the end of the day, I just want them to get to a place of comfort. And I hope that we can gain consensus if I really believe in an issue that I want them to get to where I am.
Yeah, so good. So good. What people are afraid of change. Let's talk about that. And I think we saw that a lot even with the pandemic, where all of a sudden people had to come online because, they couldn't do business the normal way. And people were so afraid of that. A lot of people even shut down their businesses at that time. Even a lot of coaches and consultants, entrepreneurs shut down. Why do you think people are so afraid of change? And again, is it all failure or is it more than that?
Well, listen, I think they did actually pivot reasonably well at the beginning of COVID, right? People used technology that weren't tech people. Zoom became an actual, verb, let's Zoom. And then they just really became complacent. They were sitting at home. It was easy. They were in their pajamas. They didn't have to spend money on gas. Mm-hmm. But that actually hurt society. And I'm actually in Florida right now, but normally reside up in the Northeast, and the office market in the Northeast has been pretty much, I don't want to say decimated, but it's incredibly been impacted. In Florida, it's like things haven't changed that much. The office market is still robust. People do go to work for the most part, but people generally, they get into these comfort zones and it's just so easy. The alarm clock rings at the same time every day. They go to bed every day at the same time. They eat dinner at the same time, and they get into these routines. And, think about your own personal life. You try to make plans with somebody and you want to go to dinner at a certain time. And so I don't eat dinner that late, or I don't eat dinner that early. I'm like, well, what's going to happen to you if you do?
Right.
No, I don't go to that neighborhood. It's too far. I don't go to the city. Well, why not? What's going to happen? Are you going to implode? So people just, I think, gravitate towards no and stay where they like to stay, and don't want to think about what's on the other side of the mountain or what's behind door number 2. They just rather stay with what they have. Look, I wish, when you ask me these kinds of questions, I wish I had a psychology background so I could really get to the point, but I don't know. Listen, I do it myself sometimes. I'm sure you do as well. Sometimes it's just so much easier to say, I'm good. I'm good. I don't know what's going to happen, because if I think really, in my opinion, it really comes down to failure. What happens if I get lost going to the city? What happens if I eat that late and I stay up all night because my stomach, like they just don't know what they don't know. And it's
Right.
easy to stay with what they do know. That's my guess.
And I think, yeah, I think you hit on a word there, easy. I think a lot of times people want the easy way. They don't want to do things that are hard. It's work, right? And so for that reason, they will settle, or they'll keep themselves in the same place because they don't want to do the work, or they just don't want to put in the time or the effort. Do you find that
Remember
as well?
remember the Staples, that was easy button? The
Yes.
red button. So I'm not a
Yes.
big emoji guy, but I have one emoji that I use all the time. And then when someone does something that's so obvious, I send them and that was easy, and they get it. But some people aren't going to change.
Right. No, that's true. They won't.
Hey, it's Ann here, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask you, would you like to level up and scale up your coaching or consulting business and go into that $500,000, $1 million or beyond, maybe even in the next year? Well, if it's a big yes for you, then I want to invite you to apply to my next free 2-day virtual event. You do not want to miss this. These are the same strategies I use in my business and the same strategies I teach my high-paying clients so that they can have explosive growth and do it with a premium business. So go apply now, because I have had people make money right out of my free workshops. All you need to do is go to expertinyouworkshop.com, apply to attend, and I'll see you on the inside. Now back to the show.
What is success to you, Steve? I always love to hear what people think of success.
For me personally, it's, waking up every day and being happy with who I am and where I am. And I say to people, if you have a job, if you work, right, if you're not one of these retired people sitting on an island somewhere, if you can change the nomenclature of saying, I'm going to the office, not going to work, I think that's really one of the first things about success. Because just think about that. I'm going to the office. Well, the office is like just another room, right? I'm going to the bathroom, bedroom. But when you're going to work, nobody wants to work necessarily. I mean, not that work can't be enjoyable, but when you go to the office, it just feels better. And I actually think that's a big point of success. The people that wake up and go, oh, I got to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, no matter how much money they're making, that's not success. And I think just general satisfaction with, and not jealous of the people that are making a lot more money than you or don't have things that you can't get. We're not all going to have private yachts. We're not all going to have private planes. We're not all going to live in, 10,000 square foot homes, but we all have what we have. This is a meritocracy with which we live in. And I firmly believe that in the United States, you eat what you kill. And if you are somebody that is that successful, you are, and you should be able to give back to those that are less fortunate than you, but enjoy really what you have, because you've gotten to a place that, like, nobody's where they are by accident. Some people are much less fortunate than others and do need some help. But if you can wake up and look in the mirror and like what you see, I think that's to me, you're doing okay.
Yeah, I love it. When we were talking about failure earlier too, one of the things that I've always said, I believe the only way to fail is to stop, is to not try any longer, to give up, to quit. To me, that's failure, when you throw in the towel.
I agree. That's interesting. I read a book that I didn't write. I do read other people's books, which that's how you learn. But there's a book called Quit. It's actually called Quit, Quit, by a professional poker player named Annie Duke. And she actually talks about how there are some times where quitting is the best option. And when you read it, it gives you a whole different perspective, because sometimes you can't win, right? And cut your losses and move on. I didn't think of that as quitting necessarily, but the way she frames it is, and as a poker player, right, it's the perfect analogy, because sometimes you're in a hand, you can't win, fold and move on and save your money. You can't chase every bad hand. You're going to not be at the table for very long. And her perspective as a poker player was incredibly insightful. And she's really, she's one of the best poker players of all time. So there are certain things, like, maybe you're running a marathon and you just can't, your body can't do it. Well, don't keep training to run a marathon or climbing Mount Everest. Or there's certain things that I know that I can't endeavor upon because I just can't do them. Maybe
But is
I've
that
tried.
failure though? Is that failure, Steve, or is that just
No,
making a different decision?
realistic. Listen, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. When you think of sports and how many kids play, right? And eventually, little by little, they all stop playing. And I say to people all the time, the uniform comes off for everybody at some point.
Right.
Usually by the time you're 12. At Tom Brady, when you're 46, that's way, way, way the exception. And when I was running sports leagues back when my kids were younger, I had a couple of talented kids, so people thought I knew what I was doing. That was just, the good gene pool. And people would say to me, how do I make my kid better? And I would say, ma'am, sir, your child has a better chance of owning the Philadelphia Phillies than playing for the Philadelphia Phillies from a percentage basis. And when you look at it, it's actually true. So that's a perfect example. Or trying to be a movie star or an elite anything. A lot of people try, but at some point you have to give it up. I think that's not failure. That's, again, it's part of your success journey because you're going to realize, okay, that's not my thing. I'm going to pivot to go do this.
Right. Right.
But if you don't try, how many people that are my age say, gee, I wish I would have tried that. Gee, I wish I would have tried that. To me, that's more failure than trying it and realizing it's not for you.
Right. Right. Now, going back to success, because to me, success and failure, they're opposites, right? So talking about success, and one of the things you said to me, you believe that success is about living your best life. I have to agree with you. I think success is having success in all areas of your life, not just one, not just business, not just whatever. I think it's all areas of your life. Do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's everything you do. I can't stress enough, no matter what you do, go at it with gusto. You're going to read a book, read a book. Don't, I know that sounds silly, but actually read the book and learn and get invigorated with that book. Listen to music, get engrossed in the music, go to dinner with people. Don't pick your phone up, pay attention to those people. The phone has been, in many ways, the best invention of all time, and in many ways, the worst possible thing that ever happened because we lost an entire generation of people who only know how to, do this, and they don't know how to converse with other human beings without having their phone. It's, I call social media anti-social media because there's nothing social about it. People say, "Oh, will you be my Facebook friend?" And I'm thinking, I don't want to be your friend in real life, let alone be your friend on an app. But get involved, do everything, put everything you have into everything that you do. And yes, I agree. I'm sorry, what I said earlier was not everybody starts on first base. Not everybody starts at second base. Certainly not everybody starts at third base, but everybody has some opportunity. And if you are one of those people that starts on third base, look at who's not in the game yet and figure out how can you help them. Because there are people that come from very disadvantaged backgrounds who don't have those same opportunities that we have some responsibility to help get back into the game. Because once people are in the game, then they have an opportunity. And once you're in the game, relish that game. Because as far as I know, we only get one trip around with this game. And we've got to make it the best. Because when it is our time to check out, I would feel terrible for anybody that looks back and says, gee, I wish. And listen, there are people in my own life who I know that probably didn't lead their life to the fullest. And maybe that's one of the reasons that I try to think and say what I do.
Yeah, no, it's so good. So good. I know there's probably something that you find yourself saying to your clients over and over and over again that is somewhat life-changing for them or a big aha for them. What would that be?
Well, I don't know. Listen, I'm known as having tons of sayings. That's people know me to have sayings. But I always say, first of all, I always tell them to say please and thank you. Right? I mean, that's I know even to my clients who are CEOs. It's like please and thank you, and always follow up. That's always my advice to everybody. When you say you're going to do something, do it. People remember those that follow up, and you know this. Because I know you have a lot of clients that you've helped. Everybody knows when somebody doesn't follow up. They may not remember that you did follow up, but they remember who doesn't. And take time out of your day to recognize people, wish them happy birthday, wish them happy anniversary if you know it. Recognize something in their life, and it's something that I take a lot of pride and I put a lot of effort into. I have 9,000 contacts in my phone that I keep up to date. And I always start to wish people a happy birthday at 4:00 the day before their birthday. Why?
He does do that. You are brilliant at that. You do that. Yes.
Nobody's wishing anybody their birthday, a happy birthday at 4:00 the day before, but at 4:00 on the day of their birthday, nobody's going to remember that I wished them a happy birthday. And everybody likes their birthday. So recognize it early. I write handwritten thank you notes to people because when you write someone a handwritten thank you note, I know you know this because you do it, people actually call you to thank you for thanking them.
For the thank you note, right.
And so, but I say just be genuine. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not. You can have mentors. You can have people that you admire. Don't try to be them because you can't be them. Be you, but be somebody that somebody really believes is a genuine article. And the one thing there's a lot of things people could say about me, but nobody will ever say that I'm not a genuine, really authentic human.
You definitely are, Steve. Like I said, you walk the talk. So did I say that right? Yeah. I tell you, after coming back from vacation, I'm still trying to get my head back in the game. So
I get it.
This has been such a great conversation. Steve, how can people connect with you? And is there something that you would like to drive them to? Is that your book, or what would you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, if they want to buy the book, Make Bold Things Happen, it's makeboldthingshappen.com. My contact information is on there. They can also get it on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and local bookstores. And I would say that, it's funny, when I talk about Make Bold Things Happen, I always wanted to write a book. I'm a pretty good writer, but I never thought I had it in me to write a book. And I sat down last year and I just, no outline. I just, boom, here are 60,000 words. And you never know if it's actually really good. And I had some people read it who I trusted, and they said, this is not bad. They didn't say it was great. It's not bad. And I fixed it. And I've heard from a lot of people, and I sold a lot more books than I ever thought. And it's led me to do a lot of speaking, a lot of media, and I'm having so much fun with it. I never did this to make money. I did this so that I would be able to meet people like you, find some clients, help people maybe a little bit from a networking perspective. I do a lot of speaking on college campuses. And if you're interested in networking, if you're interested in figuring out how to build your network, which then ultimately helps you figure out all your problems, I always say, be 1 degree of separation from anything you want to fix. Read the book. It takes you an hour. It's a 90-minute read. And if I can write it, you can read it. That's what I like to say to people. And this is not War and Peace. So makeboldthingshappen.com, and happy to connect. If you write to me, I'll write you back within an hour.
That's amazing. Steve, it has been so much fun having you on again and getting to reconnect. And I've just appreciated this conversation so much. And you just sharing all of your years of expertise and thoughts and ideas. And I'm so grateful you've been here with me today.
I'm honored always to be with you. All the years have taken on my hair, but someday nothing I can do about that. But anything for you, Ann. And hopefully people get to connect with you because you really are the best.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here for another week. And we cannot wait to talk to you again next week. Make sure that you subscribe to the show, and sharing is caring. So please get these podcasts out to more people. I bring on such amazing guests like Steve, who just give away so much value in these shows. So share it, please. And until next week, God bless you. Have an amazing day and go rock your business. Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this show, then I want to invite you to check out a free automated webinar where I show you how you can bring in ultra high fee clients for $25,000 to $125,000 or even more. I show you how you can do this maybe even in the next 7 to 60 days. So if you want to check out that free webinar, just go to expertinyouaccelerator.com. And I'll see you on the inside. You have an amazing day. And until next time, God bless you. Go rock your business.